In this episode of the OrangeNerd Show, where we talk about everything except the theme parks. In this episode, we're talking about Acolyte. The numbers are in, or some of the numbers are in. We're going to talk about the Nielsen Disney Plus numbers. We're also going to dive into a lot of other stuff on this show. This is, again, the OrangeNerd Show, where we focus on studio, streaming, and everything except the theme park. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of the OrangeNerd Show, where, like I said, we talk about everything except the theme parks. We're talking Acolyte, we're diving into some Nelson Peltz, and we're diving into some Nielsen Disney Plus numbers. But before we dive into our topics today, I want to introduce my fantastic panel. We got these amazing gentlemen here. I'll start with Mr. Seymour Duck. It's always great to have you on board, sir.
Hello. Glad to be here with you guys and to nerd out once again on your channel. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Seymour. If you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me on X at Mr. Seymour Duck.
There he is. Make sure you follow him on X. Big Nintendo fan too. So if you like Nintendo, he's your guy. He can debate you or talk to you about Nintendo and gaming and all that good stuff. So make sure you check out Mr. Seymour Duck on X.
Thank you.
And then we got Mr. Webba, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man over here. If he has to. If he has to duck out, he's out there saving the city, but he'll be right back. If that police scanner goes crazy, Mr. Mr. Webba, welcome back, sir.
OG, thank you so much for having me on. And I think this is my first time on a OrangeNerd Show, actually.
Really? Okay.
I believe so. Yeah. But yeah, this is awesome. I can't wait to talk about all the studio stuff with both of you, sexy gentlemen. So yeah, guys, let's get right to it.
Let's rock and roll. Okay, first topic of the day is Acolyte. So this won't be controversial at all, right? All right, here we go. This is from Variety. The Acolyte reaches 4.8 million views in one day. Biggest Disney Plus launch of 2024. Okay, it says here, The Acolyte, Disney Plus's newest Star Wars series, reached 4.8 million views in its first day of availability. This marks the streamer's biggest series premiere of 2024, according to Disney. Now, this is important here. It says an exact first-day viewership total isn't available for Ahsoka, the most recent Star Wars series, though Disney did report that it took 5 days to reach 14 million views. That comes out to an average of 2.8 million views per day, 2 million below the launch of The Acolyte. Note, a view is calculated by dividing the number of hours each title is watched by its runtime. That's interesting. I'm surprised, actually, that Variety even bothered to put that in. A lot of mainstream media stuff doesn't dive that deep into it. So kudos to Variety on that. But Mr. Seymour Duck, what are your thoughts on this, man? These numbers, are these good? Are these bad? Is The Acolyte a total flop? What happened?
These numbers are good in comparison to Disney Plus. And compared to other streaming services, unfortunately, we don't have the exact data how they do their formula for their views because, as you noted, a view is calculated by dividing the number of hours each title have watched by its runtime. Meaning that if a show, let's say it shows 1 hour, and one person watches 50 minutes, and then another person watches 10 minutes, they calculate that as one view, even though it's two people. So when you calculate that way, it takes all the hours and everyone that's watching and makes it as a view. Whereas if you're on YouTube, 1 minute is a view. If you're on X, simply just watching it like an impression is a view. And other streaming services, they don't tell you how they make the views. If you're on linear, just going on that channel, seeing the show, they count that, one person in the household watched it. So to me, this is very more in-depth in how many people's watching the shows in total minutes. And with streaming, that's very important for advertising and for their shareholders to understand what's actually happening. Because with linear, you didn't get that data. But now with streaming, because it's all digital, you understand better. So these numbers seem pretty good. But compared to Disney Plus, because every other streaming service doesn't give the exact data and how they do it.
It's interesting. I see a lot of people actually on X and other platforms and what have you talk about, 4.8 million. Okay, that's okay. But look how many subscribers Disney Plus has. So this is a very small percentage of the people watching that have Disney Plus. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, okay, but that's not what are the percentages for the average Netflix show? You know what I'm saying? When you have a streaming platform, every show isn't for everybody. So I think that's kind of Go ahead, Seymour. I do apologize.
And it's the 4.8 million views, as we stated. It's 4.8 million views from start to finish, including the intro and the credits. So that's the runtime of everything. So, because like I said, if a show is 1 hour and they take that 50 minutes, right, for one person to 10 minutes. So that's why the number might seem small, but in reality, because of how they do their formula, and they stated, Variety stated, which I'm really surprised, like you said, they actually state this, that it's a view is calculated by dividing the number of hours of each title of its watch time by its runtime. So yeah, so when you calculate everything, that's actually pretty good for the platform itself.
So okay, so because that was gonna be my question, is that when I watch these Disney Plus shows, unless there's an end credit scene, I'm not sticking around for 5, 6, 7 minutes at the end of credits. I'm not wasting my time doing that. So what you're saying is that the all the shows I watch on Disney Plus from my views are not being counted in their system, basically, right?
No, technically they're being counted, but they're not being counted as a view until they get the full minutes of that runtime of that episode or movie.
Well, right, exactly. Yeah. So mine's not, it's counted, but it's not a fully count because I didn't have that full from beginning to end minute watch. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it is interesting, and this is actually a show that kind of is surprising me a little bit because I wasn't too thrilled with the trailers. I was on Bad Thoughts Studio with Tones, and I think even the Italiano, and we talked about the Acolyte trailers, and we weren't really that impressed, to be honest. I think we even talked about it with Jay Shear, and honestly, look, I know there's people that are like, "Oh, this is the worst show ever," and that is what it is. But I think the overall majority of at least the people that I'm seeing seem to really like this show. I'm seeing a pretty positive buzz in regards to this. I don't take the Rotten Tomatoes stuff seriously, just like I don't take the Tiana Bayou Adventure downvotes seriously, because anything that people think is quote unquote woke or this, that, and the other, there's going to be campaigns to downvote these things. So again, I don't take it seriously. Go ahead, Seymour. I do apologize.
That reminds me of something. Me and Slimer were talking about it, how the Rotten Tomato scores were already at 40% and then going down to 30%. Hours before the shows were even premiered.
What? But I thought
so. Like they already have their thoughts on the show, and everyone with they're just bombing with the comments and everything, acting like, I don't know if they're bots, but they're acting like they've seen the show and they're saying it's bad without actually seeing the show.
Okay, so I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know with Rotten Tomatoes, at least for movies is concerned, movies you had to have like a validated ticket or whatever to make an opinion, right? But for a streaming show or a TV, they don't have a system down where you have to do that. So now anybody can just put their stupid opinion on there without even having seen it.
No, and I've debated people on this as well with your points exactly. Where like if a movie does well, you can actually see the people who bought the tickets and they can verify that they bought the tickets with the reviews. And then some people will be like, well, you have to go with the overall reviews. I'm like, why? Because they could just post anything and say that I watched it.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything. Just because you can sign up and post it, it doesn't mean you actually seen it. And that's what's happening with a lot of the TV shows. It happened to Amazon as well. I think like with the Lord of the Rings, it was so bad for them. They actually had to shut down their rating for IMDb because they own IMDb for a few days, just for everyone to stop bombing with bad reviews, even though it wasn't even out yet.
Yeah, it's ridiculous anymore because I get it, Disney has had kind of a rough patch lately. I get it. I mean, every studio goes through it. And I know people have their opinions. If you like something, dislike something, great. I mean, as long as you saw it or experienced it and you have your opinion, cool. But I feel like we have this kind of culture now on the internet where like people will just review bomb the crap out of things before they even come out because people want something to fail, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, there's a political angle to it, and that's what it is. It's like, okay, this show is seen as woke.
Yeah.
So we got to take it down. We got to, we don't like it, And not everybody's like that. I'm not saying that, and there's people on the other side of the equation who probably do the same thing, but it is the reality. To pretend that doesn't exist is being naive. It absolutely does. Not everyone is going to be open-minded, and a lot of people aren't, you know what I'm saying? And they're going to see Lucasfilm, number one, and hate it. And then number two, they're going to think Acolyte because of Leslie Headland and just this from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of inclusion in this, and there's people that think that's woke and what have you. So it's a target for that kind of review bombing. It's not the first thing to be targeted either. There's a lot of
not at all.
Yeah, a lot of these shows, it's not just Disney too, a lot of these shows and movies get this, when there's like this kind of this culture war element to it. And that's why I don't pay attention to it. Like if people want to look at the Rotten Tomato score, that's fine. I'm going to watch this show for myself. Like I said, I wasn't sold on these trailers. I didn't think the trailers were great at all. I thought it looked honestly kind of cheap. It looked like kind of like a CW show in a lot of ways. But I'm hearing from people that I trust that this is actually a pretty good show. I'm a big fan of Josh from Den of Nerds. And he's very critical of Star Wars. He rants about Star Wars all the time. He, like rants about it. And he was saying this show is pretty good. He likes it. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to have an open mind. But there are people out there, unfortunately, who will not do that. It's Kathleen Kennedy. It's Star Wars. It's Big Mouth's bad. We're going to downvote it before we even see it. You know what I'm saying? So we're not going to give it a chance. So it's unfortunate. But 4.8, now, Seymour, I wanted to ask you, because we have, I think, I did a show last night with our good friend Tones and Evan, and we were talking about House of the Dragon, and that's coming out. I believe House of the Dragon premieres on June 16th. In your opinion, is that going to impact Acolyte's run at all, or do you think with streaming it's not so much of an issue because you can watch one and watch the other? You don't have to necessarily. It's not. You have enough time to kind of do both in a weekend. You know what I'm saying? Or what do you feel the impact of that will be come June 16th?
I don't think so, because you already subscribed to the service. You have 30 days to cancel, and I think by the time you're watching both, you're not going to cancel both. You already have the services. I think it will be fine, because you have Disney Plus already. Why you're not going to watch these shows? Like why'd you subscribe to Disney Plus? If the show is good, right? Right. I only saw the first 2 episodes, and
Same.
I don't mind it. It's pretty good, but they've done that before with me, where some of the shows were good with the first 2 episodes, and then it fell flat. But but so far so good.
Well, yes, and that's the other thing too with Disney Plus is that as much as I want every show to be like fantastic, they always have strong starts, but Disney, for some reason, in their TV run series, they cannot finish stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's strong.
So if there was anything, if the show fell flat or something in the middle where the show is not doing well, then I'll see them switching over to House of the Dragon to get something better, if that's happening. But if the show's actually done well and people are watching, then I think they will watch it, and then word of mouth will come in, and everyone will sign up again and be like, okay, we got to watch.
Yeah, and I think too, guys, that that right now, as much as a lot of people are kind of, upset or mad or whatever you want to say about with Star Wars right now, is I think people are really hungry for a great Star Wars TV show.
Oh yeah,
or just great Star Wars content in general, right? Because we haven't had a movie in so long either. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. And here's the thing too. You're right. When people say Star Wars is dead, Star Wars is not dead. You can make the argument that it's hibernating, and I know that sounds like kind of funny, but it's true. Star Wars is one of those properties. I think there's always going to be people out there that love it. Now, the current stuff maybe isn't really hitting with audiences, so like that's why I say it's hibernating. I'm telling you, you put out a really dope Star Wars show and it will catch fire. We've seen it even recently in the Disney Star Wars era with Mandalorian. Yep. The sequel trilogy was not really well received by and large. Very, very mixed reviews at best. But when Mando came out, it was a cultural phenomenon. This thing was like, it was the thing. It was like Frozen, maybe even bigger. You know what I'm saying? Baby Yoda, the whole thing. That's kind of proof to what I'm saying here, where it's like Star Wars is not dead. There were people saying Star Wars was dead long before The Mandalorian premiered. And when Mando premiered, it showed you this franchise is not dead. So like you said, Webba, if they can produce good content, Star Wars will come roaring back. You just got to make the right thing, even Marvel. I think the same thing with Marvel. I think people love Marvel. Marvel's been around for almost as long as Disney. I think it's been around for a long, long time. Right now, the movies are kind of mid, let's be honest. But if they start producing bangers again, like they did in the lead up to Endgame, people will come back. I'm certain of it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, well, see, I was really excited for this show, and actually, I've also seen the first 2 episodes, and I actually really liked them. Again, there's a few critiques I have about it, like personally, that did not like, but overall I liked both episodes. And I was really excited for this show because it's like, okay, we're going 100 years before episode 1. That's dope. So we're kind of like in that more era of where this, Jedi and like a lot more Jedi stuff, right? And it's just cool to, to have, hopefully, if we can see after the first 2 episodes, if we get more dark side stuff going on, right? Because the first 2 episodes we get like tiny bit, but I want to see more like kind of in depth dark side stuff. So hopefully we get that from the show because that's what I really want. But yeah, I mean I've enjoyed it so far. And I just hope that in the future Disney just starts making these shows longer. I mean,
That's been a complaint for, I think everybody complains about that. Like I've been hearing that complaint really since they brought Disney Plus online. Like for 5 years now, people are complaining about that. Like the Mandalorian episodes were like 25 minutes. Some of them were like so short, like they gotta, look, to HBO's credit, when you watch a show like Succession or you watch a show like House of the Dragon, you're getting a full hour with that stuff, And I think Disney needs to start doing that. I think that would make a lot of fans happy, and it's something that people have been asking for forever. Although I think Andor, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, I think Andor had longer run times for some reason.
It did, yeah. I think it was like between like 49 to like 50 minutes or so with Andor. I think some were like 43, but even still, like the reason why my big complaint is with the time frame of the episodes plus the short seasons is that it doesn't, like, Disney they're not capable right now, maybe in the future, but right now they're not capable with a live action of creating on a consistent basis good stories because then it's crunch time. By the time they get to the middle of the season, it feels like you just started. Right. And then now by the end they have to wrap everything up.
I have a counter to that. I believe Disney can. It's just their Star Wars and Marvel can't.
That's interesting, Seymour. Why do you think that is?
FX has been doing amazing for live action of their general entertainment. If you look at Shogun, 53 minutes to 70 minutes per episode, and it hit the Nielsen charts. Like this show was really good. It did really good. Even in Rotten Tomatoes, it didn't even get bombed with bad reviews because the word of mouth was so good on the show, and it's proof that Disney can make it. It's just, for some reason, Star Wars and Marvel can't do it. But FX, I love FX. They make great shows.
What show was that? What show was that, Seymour, that didn't get review bombed?
Shogun.
Shogun. Okay. Did that have anything? And I'm not as familiar with that. To be honest, did that have any like woke controversies or anything like that for that show, or was it pretty controversy clean that you remember?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I have not seen it, but it was about the Japanese samurais.
Okay. Yeah, then maybe that might be one element as to why it didn't get review bombed, because it didn't have like that cultural war baggage.
But
I'm not familiar with it, so I don't.
But I mean, like, this is FX and this is owned by Disney, but they're not. Disney doesn't get a lot of the credits for their general entertainment, even though it's on Hulu and then Disney Plus outside the US. These shows do really good. The Bear does really good. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia does really good. They do good shows. It's just it doesn't come back to the Disney side where Marvel and Star Wars is.
That's interesting. And isn't that Dana Walden's kind of purview? Isn't she running all that stuff on the Hulu end of things?
And that's probably why she might be CEO, because she understands this side, and they're going to push it in to bring it to on streaming for Disney side. I don't know, but
so this is where I want to kind of, I guess, clarify my point, Seymour, is that when I say Disney, and I'll say this for both negative or positive, because since Lucasfilm and Marvel are under the Disney banner, yes, they're the kind of own entity, so to speak, but they're under the Disney brand. So yeah, I'll be like, oh, Kevin Feige's not doing a good job, or blah blah blah. The studio's not doing well, but then also Disney, I think, also has to kind of oversee that and make sure that their studio under them is performing well at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. And then with Star Wars specifically, I think that, their animated stuff like Bad Batch, like season 3 was great. Bad Batch, Rebels, Clone Wars, those are all like 25 minutes or so, 28-minute shows, and those are really good in my opinion.
Well, yeah. Well, the seasons are usually longer with those animated Star Wars shows too. You know.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, they're like 20 episodes or something like that. But actually, speaking of animation, like MCU's been kind of limping along, but the X-Men 97 was absolutely crushing it.
Oh,
And
that was good, man.
They stuck the landing too. Like you were saying earlier, like Webba, like usually Disney Plus, and I agree with you, the shows start out good and then they kind of fall off a cliff at the end, like WandaVision, right? they did my girl Wanda so dirty on that one. They did. I love her. I think she's a fantastic character, but man, but that's the thing with X-Men 97, they really stuck the landing. So and that's the other thing too, to come back to Acolyte, that was also one of the shows that premiered in 2024. And I get it, it's not live action, but it was a big deal. I mean, I thought it was a pretty big deal. I saw, at least in my circles, a lot of people talking about X-Men 97, and the Acolyte outperformed that. And I know a lot of people will poo-poo X-Men 97 because it's animation, but I don't know, man. I mean, I saw a lot of people making content about, like on YouTube. I saw a lot of engagement on Twitter in regards to X-Men 97. It seemed like a pretty big deal. And for Acolyte to surpass that, I think that's, pretty decent. I'm not saying that X-Men 97 was like this cultural phenomenon or something massive, but it was big enough where I think it's at least something to take note of, that Acolyte actually ended up beating it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
No, I thought I watched X-Men 97. I thought that was really good. And then also what I thought was really good too, especially like the last 3 or 4 episodes, was What If Season 2. Like the last like 3 or 4 episodes were like awesome. That was really good.
Interesting. Now, before we move on to our next topic, which is Mr. Nelson Peltz and his Disney shares, any final comments on the Acolyte and the viewership numbers before we move on?
I just want to say, for me, that's great numbers, especially because that's a lot of views in one day. And again, to Seymour's point, that's probably not counting views like from people like me who skip the last part of the credits stuff, so it's not fully counting. So there's probably a bunch more people who've actually watched it than what their official numbers that they got. But yeah, I just hope that the series just continues to climb and does really well, and I hope we get a little bit more kind of mature stuff in the show. I hope so. But yeah, I'm really hoping the show does really well, because so far I like it.
Cool. I full disclosure, I haven't seen it yet. I'm planning on watching it this weekend though, because we might be doing some like Acolyte content here on the channel, and I know Tones wants to do like a weekly show on his channel, so I'm gonna watch the first 2 episodes this weekend for sure. But Seymour, any final thoughts before we move on to Nelson Peltz?
The word of the day is context.
Right.
So a lot of people, when they read articles on X and they see clickbait or rage bait titles, they forget to write context. In this instance, context is that the views are calculated in a different way, but people don't want to tell you. So context.
Well said. No, context. Yeah, exactly. In this, it matters 100%.
Because 4.8 million views is meaning that 4.8 million of the show's runtime has been watched.
Exactly. And that's the thing, Seymour, you're absolutely right on that. The context matters, and not just in this, but with so much of the stuff that we talk about on a day-to-day basis, a lot of that is left out of the conversations, unfortunately, so well said, brother. Well said.
Oh, and one last thing.
Sure.
Disney Plus is not as big as Netflix, so it doesn't need to beat Netflix in terms of these viewership numbers. Mm-hmm. So when we look at Disney Plus and, they say it's 150, and compared to what Netflix is just over 250, it's like, so it's not the same. It's different. Plus Disney, they have 1/4 of it is total revenue from all for all their streaming services for Disney Plus and Hulu, whereas Netflix is 100%. So it's not an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well said.
And I'm sure we'll discuss it more later on with the Nielsen numbers.
Yeah, we will. Absolutely. Actually, you know what? Because it's kind of tied to the Nielsen number. Let's do Nielsen first, actually. Let's kind of dovetail into this first, because I think it's connected to what we were just talking about, so it makes sense. So this is from Nielsen, streaming TV top 10. Okay, now this is overall. So we got the roast of Tom Brady, killing it on Netflix. Grey's Anatomy. This is an old ass show. That's Hulu and Netflix, and doing pretty good. We got Bluey. Bluey's a beast, man. Evil, Family Guy. Wow, Family Guy's even kind of Mother of the Bride, NCIS, Young Sheldon, The Resident, and Law and Order SVU. So, Seymour, what are your thoughts on this? On the top 10 for this is the week of May 6th to May 12th of 2024. So a little less than a month ago. We're looking at here. What are your any standouts? Anything on your mind when you see these numbers?
First, I want to give context. Is that a lot of these?
Yes.
So
C is for context, right? C is for context.
So Netflix. I don't know the exact numbers of subscribers in just the US because they added in with Canada, but they have around 82.7 million subscribers. Disney Plus has 151 million, and Hulu has 45.8 million. Hulu's the only one that's US only because it's only in US. It's not anywhere else. So when you look at some of these numbers, it's almost Disney Plus is almost like 2/3 of Netflix, right? And yet still makes it in the top charts. So when you look at Family Guy, that's pretty impressive. It means a lot of their users on Disney Plus or Hulu, because they have the Hulu app now on the Disney Plus, are watching it. And I think it's working. I think they added Hulu into Disney Plus and people are not switching back and forth. So that's why you're seeing numbers like Family Guy high up there and Grey's Anatomy high up there, because they consistently watch without switching back. The engagement is now much higher than it was before. Interesting.
What are your thoughts on this, Mr.
Webba? Yeah, so I'm not a big financial guy like Mr. Seymour Duck here is, quack. But what I noticed the first thing is that you got Hulu / with Netflix right at like the second top right there, number 2, and then right under that number 3 you have Disney Plus. You know what I mean? So Disney's still killing it, I think, with these shows.
Well, yeah, it's funny because you hear there's a narrative out there, and this is where context comes in again, right? That word of the day. This narrative out there that Disney Plus is circling the drain, and Disney's streaming efforts are a failure. And you look at numbers, and I know people like look at Bluey and go, well, Bluey's not Disney. It doesn't have to be Disney. Super Mario Brothers isn't Universal, but for some reason that counts for Universal. But Bluey for some reason doesn't count for some reason. I don't know why, but I mean, so this is significant. And like you were saying, Seymour, is that Disney has less market share, but they're holding their own pretty well in these top 10s. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And go ahead, Seymour. I'm sorry, brother.
Oh, I was just gonna say, another for context, Netflix likes to release their episodes. It's not shown here because a lot of this is actually older TV shows, like Family Guy. But if you look at some of the original content in the list up top,
There we
if you look at some of the original lists, you can see some of the episodes. Let's say Baby Reindeer, right? Baby Reindeer, Netflix comes out all at once. It wasn't a weekly episode. So with Netflix, that brings out the numbers higher during the week because everyone can watch Netflix all at once. If you look at a chart, it's probably high on top for the numbers, and then within 2-3 weeks, it will dramatically drop. Where with Disney Plus or Hulu, it's weekly. So it will be like on a flat, not a flat, but like kind of a curve that just goes up and down straight.
So then Seymour, do you think, because Disney Plus has done this since they first launched, so then do you think, why, I guess besides maybe a couple of shows, like I think Echo, they put it all out once, I believe.
Yeah, and it got into the top 10 with only 5 episodes because of that, because the viewer numbers are higher. So a lot of the times when you see, I remember I saw on X, somebody was telling me Wish did not beat Family Guy, and that's a failure for Disney. And I'm like, Disney beating Disney is a failure? And I was confused. I'm like, huh? And I didn't understand it. And it's like, you don't remember. And the thing is, as we mentioned, Family Guy has like over 400 episodes. Like, yes, of course, it's going to beat the Wish. Wish is a movie. And it was a number 1 in the movies. So the minutes being watched is completely different because you can watch how many, let's say if it's 400 episodes with 25 minutes, right? Divided by 60, for hours, that's like 166 hours. You're competing that with 1 hour and 40 minutes of what Wish. Like that's not even the same it's apples and oranges.
Absolutely.
And some people will like to say, oh, Wish is a failure, but I'm like, can you name me a Netflix show that you went back and watched? No. Except for Stranger Things, the only show that's the only show I can watch. I don't go back and watch Orange Is the New Black. I don't go back and watch, well, maybe Arrested Development, but besides the other shows, like you don't go back and watch them. You don't go back and watch any of the other shows, unless it's like a reality show and you want to catch up. Mm-hmm. They don't have good shows, and the good shows that are being licensed, you see number 2, Grey's Anatomy, which is made by Disney.
Right. Well, and also too, but I want to bring this up. This is not, well, kind of, it's more so movies, but with shows though in general, I guess with both, right? Is that it's kind of frustrating, like when something isn't like super like astronomically high, then it's considered a failure. I don't know where this mindset comes from, and even now going back to the movies, Bob Iger made that comment, like a month ago or so now, about how they were so used to hitting $1 billion at the box office. Now, if anything was under that, it was considered a failure, basically, right, or something close to that. Whereas, if you're like in the 800, 700, 800, 900 million, that's still very successful. But I think fans, even with like streaming stuff or TV, that if there's numbers that aren't always consistently like super uber duper high, then it's considered a failure now. At least that's how I've interpreted this. But anyways, OG Seymour, what do you guys think about that?
What do you think, Seymour? Is there like this perception out there where if something isn't like through the roof, like with the numbers, then it's a failure?
For me, it's just all clickbait and rage bait, so people can go and get upset that these numbers are not doing better. Disney doesn't need to beat Netflix. A quarter of the revenue is only streaming. Netflix is 100% streaming. So if you see Netflix doing worse than Disney Plus or the other competitors, then there's something to be concerned about because they're 100%. But if you can, sorry, I was going to ask to go back in there.
Oh yeah, sorry about that, brother.
But if you go to the acquired section as well.
Acquired? Let me see. Give me one moment. I do apologize.
Right.
Acquired. Yeah. There we go.
And look how many of those are Hulu.
Right? Yeah, exactly. We got one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 10 are Hulu.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, because Netflix doesn't have those back catalogs of good shows, it's all Disney. And nobody, so you see Grey's Anatomy, Disney, Bluey, Disney, Family Guy, Disney, Bob's Burger, Disney, Criminal Minds, Disney. There's some that are in partnerships. Like I don't know for sure for The Resident if it's Disney. For sure, Law and Order is not Disney. That's a Universal Peacock. But yeah, you see most of it Disney. They're doing great.
Yeah, no, it's doing good. The like you call it, like the rage bait or whatever it is out there about Disney Plus and Disney streaming and stuff.
And
it's crazy. Go ahead.
And this is with Netflix having 82 million subscribers, and this is Hulu having 45 million subscribers. So that means that on average, people are watching more Disney content than per like a series compared to Netflix, because they watch, like I said. Who goes back and watches the old shows? They don't. It's usually the ones from the other studios. And you're seeing this on this list. They don't watch. They just watch the new latest show, and that's it.
You know how old Family Guy is? And the fact that it's so high on this list, like Family Guy has been around since like the late 90s, I think, or something crazy like that.
And and another thing I wanted to add is that Family Guy and Bob's Burger and all these other shows did not show up on the list until Hulu was added to Disney Plus.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's
so
interesting.
It's working. It's working. You're seeing these shows, these acquired shows, like the old shows that are, it's going up because of that. The engagement's going up. If Slimer was here, who would tell you the whole thing? Like the engagement has been up because of that, and I think it's working. And I think Hulu's going to disappear, and we're going to see a different Nielsen chart by then.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to ask you, Seymour, about that, right? Because currently, right now, right, I don't have Hulu. So when I go on my Disney Plus, I don't have a Hulu tab, right? So, but I know right now to have that, you have to either have the bundle or you have to have a Disney Plus and a Hulu account. Yeah. So do we know when they're actually going to merge and integrate Hulu into the Disney Plus like app itself, like without having a Hulu account?
Not exactly, because essentially right now, if you bundle, it's almost the same thing. Yeah. If you think about it, like if you just bundle Hulu and Disney Plus and just go in Disney Plus, it's the same thing. No, but I think they should. I think they should just scrap it for cost measurements because they should just give away. Like, there's no need for Hulu anymore. These numbers are showing that it's actually a success that everyone's just staying on Disney Plus.
Well, yeah, and that too, right? And then having Hulu now, maybe because I know with Disney Plus, right? They're like, with Deadpool 3 coming out, I know eventually we'll probably get that on Disney Plus. But do you think maybe if we got like, like a new Punisher series or something like that, they can put that kind of R-rated Marvel or even Star Wars stuff, actually, which I think would be dope, right? Like into like a Hulu section maybe, or do you think they would kind of keep that on Disney Plus itself, but have like the kind of orgy
They
stuff on it?
they already did that. They already you can already watch like the rated R Daredevil from Netflix on Disney Plus.
Oh, is
They
it on
have
there?
yeah, they have all the
Okay.
Netflix, the Punisher as well. Yeah, they're all on there.
Well,
Disney bought the rights to it back from Netflix after the
Well,
Punisher.
so while that may be though, would they add any new content though?
Yeah,
That's rated R onto Disney Plus app
yeah.
itself.
Because outside the US, everyone already has rated R content. It's nothing new.
Well,
Only the US right now, because of the Hulu branding, it was very hard at the time. And they had special licensing and they couldn't do it unless they bought out Hulu.
and I hear.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Seymour.
I was gonna say outside the US, they just branded it as Star because they didn't want to, pay the Hulu licensing and all that, and it was a success. And I'm sure that they saw that success, and this is why they're putting Hulu on Disney Plus because they saw the engagement grew, and everyone's now on Disney Plus. I don't even go on Netflix anymore. The last time I went on Netflix is because my friend's like, "You want to watch Baby Reindeer?" And I did, and then I found out the story might have been fake after. But anyways, yeah.
Well, it's crazy too. I hear this thing too, and from a lot of people, like they say, well, this integration is bad for the Disney brand. Disney is a family brand; they shouldn't integrate this stuff into Disney Plus. Look, Michael Eisner, he gets a lot of credit for like separating the adult content from the Disney stuff, but a lot of that credit I think is kind of overblown, to be honest with you. When Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I talked about this on the channel before, but it bears repeating. It's been a while, so not everyone has seen every video. When Who Framed Roger Rabbit was released in 1988 or 89, I think it was 88, it was not a Walt Disney Pictures movie. It was Touchstone. They felt it was too edgy for the Disney branding, right? So it was too edgy for the Disney branding, where when they released it into the theaters, it was Touchstone, right? But then they go out and they give us a Who Framed Roger Rabbit attraction at Disneyland. Okay. Roger Rabbit was all over the parks around that time. And all this stuff. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. I thought Eisner separated this stuff so good. I thought he was like the king at like separating these things. So, it doesn't tarnish the Disney brand. Really? That's why we saw Roger Rabbit everywhere. When it was, they couldn't even put the Walt Disney name on the movie, but then it was okay to have a ride based on him. You know what I'm saying? And now Touchstone has actually it's a defunct studio, like it no longer exists. So now when you buy Roger Rabbit like on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, it says Walt Disney Pictures. But back then it didn't. So where was all this talk about like diluting and ruining the Disney brand? Roger Rabbit was a very edgy movie, edgy enough that Eisner wanted to release it on Touchstone. Yet he put a ride. Can you imagine if they put a Family Guy ride at Disneyland? The outrage! Oh my gosh! Now it's a kind of like a similar thing where it's like edgy content, right? And it's like, but for some reason, like people don't really blame Eisner for kind of doing that back then, because go ahead.
Well, I was gonna ask, right? So I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I feel like because of all that, and then now what's going on with like the whole Marvel thing, Deadpool 3, and like what Seymour just said, like like all the Netflix shows are now on Disney Plus,
Right?
And then now we have Hulu, and then the other countries have Stars. Like, do you think that Disney is kind of like in this kind of back and forth with themselves on what they want to do for like more matured or like rated R content?
What do you think, Seymour?
How to handle it?
For the longest time, Bob Iger was against this. I remember him. That's the whole point, that he wanted to keep Hulu separate. He wanted Hulu separate because he wanted, the more teens and kids entertainment style, family friendly entertainment on Disney, and then the general entertainment where it's more mature on Hulu. But then Bob Chapek came in, put this idea that we have to put it together, and then when he came back, he had the idea of like, okay, maybe we sell Hulu. We don't need Hulu. And then he came around and was like, okay, we need to merge it together. I think at first they were divided, but then they realized that the Disney fans they have the exclusivity of expanding the horizon of watching content all over the place, from sports, general entertainment, and family entertainment content. And you're seeing that. And like if you can buy beer at Disney parks, I'm sure it'll be fine to have rated R content on Disney Plus.
Well, and also to your point, and not to go too much into the parks stuff, but how many people, I include myself in this, OG. I include myself in this. How many people do you see at the parks who are childless adults? Adults,
Right.
you know what I mean? So then how many of these Disney fans also have Disney Plus but still want to watch stuff like Shogun? You know what I mean? Or like the more mature Deadpool or Punisher, stuff like that. While still enjoying the family friendly like animation and cartoon stuff and stories, but also they want that more kind of edgy or mature adult theming as well.
Well said. And it's up to the parents to parent, in my opinion. It's not up to Disney to raise your kids. So this is my opinion on it. Like, that's why parental controls are there. You know what I'm saying? So, if you have kids and you don't want them exposed to a lot of older content on the platform, you set up the parental controls. You parent. You do the work for what's good for your family. You know what I'm saying? And it's not Disney's responsibility to do that for you, in my opinion. I mean, I know I might get some heat for that, but that's just how I feel, So I don't know. We'll see. But interesting stuff. But oh, go ahead, Seymour.
I was gonna say, and I keep seeing people saying, "Bring back Touchstone." Please, no. We don't need Touchstone to come back. It's dead. Okay. The last movie I saw from them was Hot Chick, and it wasn't good. I'm sorry, Rob Schneider, but no, we don't need to bring that back. I don't understand why we would need to bring it back, because Hulu is the brand, FX is the brand, 20th Century is the brand where you can get that type of content. Why would we need to bring back Touchstone? I don't understand.
And those are stronger brands than Touchstone. So why? Yeah, exactly. Why would you bring? The only reason Touchstone even existed was because Disney wanted to dip into some more adult stuff. Well, now they have so many outlets to do that. Why would you bring Touchstone back? There's literally no reason to do it. Makes no sense at all.
I have a quick question before we move on.
Sure.
And I'm not sure if you guys know. I haven't looked it up, so people at home, don't yell at me. I know I didn't look it up before. But the new Alien movie coming out, which looks freaking amazing. The trailer was awesome. Do you know if that was made? Do you know if that was made under Disney's new Fox brand, or was that made under the old 20th Century Fox brand?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure, to be 100% honest with you.
I'm not sure either, but I mean, so late in the game now, where they owned it back in 2019, I'm pretty sure it's not like Avatar waiting so many years to make a movie, because like Avatar 2 was in the middle of it. No, I'm pretty sure it was Disney. This is Disney.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember, I think it was also Disney. They Prey was on Hulu, and I think that was also Disney.
Yeah, and you got to understand, when did they close the Fox deal? I think it was like 2019, wasn't it, Seymour?
Yeah, it was 2019, but before then, it was like 2018. They made the deal, and then it was official 2019, and then they made an announcement for Disney Plus with The Simpsons coming on. Which is surprising. I didn't see The Simpsons on Nielsen charts. Family Guy is doing better.
That is interesting.
Family Guy and Bob Iger. Not Bob Iger. Bob's Burger.
Yeah, that's interesting. That surprises me, because I've always heard like Simpsons were like a powerhouse on the platform, but Family Guy's beating it. Now, it's interesting. Personally, I like Family Guy more as a show than I do Simpsons. But that's an interesting observation, though, Seymour. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I like Futurama more because I'm a sci-fi nerd, so I like all that space stuff. That's why I was just about to watch Doctor Who, but I'm like, oh wait, I gotta get on.
Yeah. well, and to get to Eva's question with Alien and stuff, we're getting to a point now, and that's why I asked, like, when did they close the Fox deal? We're getting to a point now where we're like 5 years out of the closure of that deal. I think we're pretty much I think most of the stuff we're seeing going forward at this point are going to be the Disney, like fully Disney at this point. Cause it's like, it doesn't take, I think I know for animated features, it takes about 3 to 4 years to produce those. A movie like Alien, I would imagine would probably be about the same, maybe 4 years. So,
Well, I'm sorry, I wanted you to cut you off. I'm actually looking right now from IMDb, there's a little what do you call those little text like on pictures or posters? It says 2024 20th Century Studios.
So
So
it's yeah.
Um,
It's Disney, but yeah. Go ahead, Seymour.
what was that one movie with the Ryan Reynolds? Was it Free Guy?
Uh,
Free Guy.
yeah.
With the video game one? They when Disney bought them, they made a last minute edit and they put the Avengers, like the Hulk and the Shield in.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
So like
I
yeah,
never saw that.
so they even with the stuff that was originally Fox at the beginning, they changed a lot of the things during that transition.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, sorry guys, I know we keep talking
No,
about
you're
something else.
good.
So okay, so with age of streaming, right? What do you think about studios now? Because I think it can be a good thing and also a bad thing, right? If like let's say they make a movie and it's good, but there's some kind of messed up parts, and they can go back in and fix it and still have it be on the streaming, right? But in reverse, they can also add in or take away some stuff that was good or put in something that's not good. And then now you got fans complaining about that. Like, do you think studios should be messing with already made content in their streaming? Or do you think they should be allowed to do that to fix whatever is not great?
That's a quick way to really piss people off because right? Because George Lucas had that problem even back in the day before streaming when he started doing those special editions with Star Wars. And I understand like the why behind that. He wanted it to look a little bit more cohesive. He wanted some CGI mixed into the original trilogy and stuff like that to kind of make the movies look like they go together more. I understand where he was going with it. Absolutely. But like that made a lot of fans mad. And also we've seen it even kind of recently with Disney where I believe Disney put like some CGI hair like on Daryl Hannah for Splash to cover her butt in one of the scenes. And that was a whole thing. And then they ended up changing it back to like the regular scene. But I think Disney should stay away from that. Like, if the movie's on the platform, leave it the way it is. They shouldn't be going in there and editing and changing stuff after the fact. That's just my opinion. But what do you think, Seymour?
Yeah, same. Don't change it. If it's done, it's done. I mean, like, are you gonna go back and fix all this CGI for She-Hulk? No.
They should.
Exactly. They should, man. Holy crap!
It's already been done. Don't waste any more money on that. But I've noticed a few things with Disney Plus with the shows. At the start, they don't do it anymore. But where like the Marvel ones, they removed some of the blood, and then fans noticed and got upset, and they put the blood back in.
That's right. Yeah, see, it's like why remove the blood? Like, just keep it in, man.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: I just recently also watched 2018 Logan. I think it's 2018. It came out 2018 or something. And dude, that was dope. That was a dope movie, man. Because what I loved about it was it felt more grounded. Because I mean, let's be honest. If you got huge razor like knives, pretty much blades coming out of your fist, those are gonna fuck some people up, dude. Like, no doubt, dude. He was stabbing people in the skull, in the face, chopping off arms. I was like, this is dope, dude. I want to see more of this, man.
Yeah, that was a good movie. Logan was a great movie, actually. But our next topic is
just one more thing.
Okay. Yes.
I mean, but if they make an edit like Deadpool and make it like a rated PG version, I'm not upset with that. That was funny.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Deadpool. Yeah. So that like anyone who's kids can watch it. That I can like understand. If you want to make like say a Deadpool movie, the new one, right, the third one. If you wanted to make like a PG version after a year or two, just for fun, like you just put the edits in, and since Ryan Reynolds is wearing a mask most of the time, you can just edit all the bad words out and everything, and it's fine. No one will even know.
Right. See that I think is okay because now you have two different versions. But let's say if they were to do that and just go and edit it and that's the only version of the movie, then no, not at all.
Exactly. That I think that's the delineation between those two things. Where like, okay, you have the R-rated version, but then you have like the watered down version for like the kiddos. Yeah. So you have two versions. That makes sense. It's like having the cut, and then you have like the director's cut, like the longer version. That's fine. But
and there was rumored for the longest time that Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, there's a rated R version that they made, but it never got released because they were scared because Disney.
Why are you scared, man? Come on, release that.
Because if you watch that movie, go back to it, you can see some of the shots were like zoomed in because they had ready for a rated R movie where you could see like all the cuts and everything that was supposed to be there. You could see all the blood. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow, man, it's crazy. That's crazy. A rated R multiverse of madness. That's wild.
They should have just done it, man. Just bite the bullet and just make it rated R, dude.
I mean, if it just release it on Disney Plus and it will be fine. Like, and just put the controls on for the parents so that the kids can't go on, and that's it.
Right. Exactly. Now, moving on to our last and final topic, which is Nelson Peltz. Nelson Peltz, he's back in the news, Mr. Peltz. This is from Variety as well. Nelson Peltz reportedly sold all of his Disney stock, earning $1 billion after losing the proxy fight. Nelson Peltz cashed out his shares of Disney shortly after the activist investor lost his bid to win seats on the Mouse House's board. According to a CNBC report, it says here that Peltz sold all of his Disney stock at close to $120 a share, making about $1 billion on the sale, CNBC reported, citing an anonymous source. That would indicate that Peltz sold the shares in the days immediately after the April 3rd Disney shareholder meeting, where his bid to shake up Disney's board was soundly defeated. What is your Seymour? I know we've been following this for a while with the Peltz thing. What are your thoughts on this? I know that you've kind of been on the show many times and you've talked about how this is kind of like Peltz's MO, right? You like the pump and dump, so to speak.
Yeah, they did it with Pepsi. They did it with a lot of companies, especially Pepsi, when he had a fight with Hugh Johnson, who's also the CFO of Disney. But yeah, Nelson Peltz likes to take his profits and move elsewhere. He 1 or 2 years and he's gone. He doesn't want to stay long term. And with a company like Disney, with the fan base and the shareholders who are very into the company and they care about the company, you don't want a guy like this from Wall Street coming in and just pumping it up just to make money. And also, for context, this is Nelson Peltz, not Ike Perlmutter, where majority of his shares were from Ike Perlmutter, so like 70%. So we have to remember that this is a small portion.
Right. So he didn't touch any of Ike's shares.
Exactly. And second, this is just reported by CNBC. It's not official. So until we get the F1 filings of this and everything of him actually selling it, it's not official yet. But I'm sure it's true. Because Nelson Peltz would have came out and said it's not true. But yeah, he sold right away. He sold before too. It's not the first time selling. He sold before while during the proxy battle, take a bit of the money. But
back in December, right? Back in December or something.
Exactly. Yeah, he doesn't care. He wants to make his quick cash and leave. And then there's this rumor on X that he's selling so that he can do a hostile takeover after. I'm like, huh? Where are you getting this news from? Who's doing a hostile takeover? Remember, Ike Perlmutter is still on with it. He still has his shares. It's Nelson Peltz, and that was only 30% of the the total voting shares that he had. How is he going to buy a $200 billion company? His shares are only worth like $1 billion. So I don't understand. How is he going to get all this money? Like the majority of the people within the company cared about it. George Lucas, right? Steve Jobs' wife, right? Like they were, they all care about the company. Even the big guys, right? They were all against them. Why do you think they're going to change their tune when they already voted no for you? So that's ridiculous.
So that's what's going on. That's what's been going around, like that he's going to do a hostile takeover.
Yeah, and I don't know why. Where's this news coming from? Like, he's never done a hostile takeover.
It's like this weird 4D chess thing. Because didn't we hear similar stuff about like Elon? Like he was going to do something like shit like that. It sounds like
simply because there was a picture of him and Nelson Peltz, Elon, saying, "Oh, he buying shares." No, there was no shares. And then Elon said, "Oh yeah, I like Nelson Peltz." After the voting was done.
Wow.
Like, I don't understand these rumors and where they get this information from. It's ludicrous. No, he's not going to do a hostile takeover. And Disney's going to sue and Nelson's going to lose because they already said, no, what are you doing a hostile takeover for when the shareholders don't want you?
Right. Well, it sounds like wish casting. And what I mean by that is it sounds like this is what people, like maybe people want to happen. And so they're kind of like, like report, like it's wish casting. They're like, this is what people want, or what certain people want. So they're like reporting, like, you know, to give that little bit of glimmer of hope to people like that are on their side. Like, oh, see, it's not over yet, you know. But for me, it sounds like
how many more fairy tale stories about your life?
Sounds like a fairy tale story to me. I don't think he's taking over the Walt Disney Company.
Nobody wants him. Nobody voted for him to come in. Why? Like it was 3-1, right? So the votes in. The majority did not want him in, and even though he got Ike Perlmutter votes, it was still not good enough.
And he did work. He performed actually worse than I thought he would, to be honest with you, in that vote.
Damn.
Right? You thought so too, Webba? You thought he would do better than what he did?
I thought so, yeah.
No, honestly. I didn't. Because the only thing, if you read his 133 white page, it was basically a wish version of Bob Iger's plan that's already happening. The only difference was, let's fix the successor plan. Like there was nothing different. And you can even see that from ISS, who were saying that they were concerned about the successor plan, and that's the only thing that anybody had an issue with successor.
Well, see, Seymour, I'll be honest, I did not read that 130 something page, but also hey
Webba, you're slipping, bro. That was your OG55 homework. What's up, man? You're not doing your homework.
My bad, guys. My cats ate it.
Oh, come on, dude.
No, but I mean, because I thought he was. I didn't think he would have gotten it, but I thought he would have done better because how he was like being really aggressive the entire time, you know, throughout this whole like fiasco.
Yeah.
And like how much more stuff he was buying in and all that stuff. So I was like, man, like I was thinking he might have a chance, but then all of a sudden, once you got like George Lucas and some other people being like, nah, dude, we'll over here team. You know, Papa Iger over here. So I was like, oh damn, you know, I always hire people that are just, you know, supporting Bob Iger. I was like, yeah, this ain't gonna last.
Well, and one of the things too that he made a big mistake, I think, was getting in bed with Rizzullo, because Rizzullo wasn't like that great with the parks. You know what I'm saying? He had a lot of baggage, and I think Peltz thought, oh, I'll bring this parks guy in and he'll give me like that street cred. It really didn't. It actually turned off a lot of fans, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people in our community that soured on this guy because of the Rizzullo pick. You know, so
yep.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But I don't know. Now I want to ask you, Seymour. So he sold these shares, right?
Yep.
Now he's not gonna. We all agree he's not gonna do a hostile takeover. That's ridiculous.
No.
But what about mounting another proxy fight? Do you think that this is on the table, or do you think that he's lost so many times? This is the second time he's kind of lost. Like, it's kind of over.
No, like I mentioned, Disney can sue, and then they're gonna put a stop in it in court, and court's probably gonna be like, you know what? You've done proxy fights too many times, and you're just doing it, and you're upsetting the stock market, the shareholders, the employees. We're just going to ban you from doing any more proxy fights, not just from Disney, but for everyone else. And you don't want that to happen.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't. They can do that. They can, if they feel like you're abusing it.
Yeah, I was doing research, and yeah, they can ban you from doing that because you're not supposed to do things like that over and over again.
Interesting.
So my thought on that, right, is, well, I didn't know about these anymore, but that's good to know. The other thing is that, you know, on a more personal level for you as the individual, right, is like that. Wouldn't you feel like after like the second time and going back in again and again, just feel foolish getting your ass kicked like constantly?
Right.
You get beat up, go back again, get beat up, go back again, get beat up. It's like there's no point just stopping, just kick rocks.
Yeah, and he has a client base too, where they need to have money, and they're going to get upset if they keep doing it and he's losing because he has to pay for the campaigns, you know, promote it and all this other stuff, and he's going to lose money. He said he probably gained what he gained from selling his shares, but how much did he invest just to win? I mean, just to lose that proxy fight.
Right. So sorry, OG. So Seymour, what you're saying is like that, you know, how much in total did he pretty much get back from what he already invested in?
Yeah.
Correct?
Now, Seymour, I want to address before we head out today. I want to address one thing too. I'm very curious for your thoughts on this. So there was a narrative for a long time that the only reason why Disney stock went up was because of Peltz. You know, it wasn't any quarterly earnings growth, you know, and all that. And now the stock is going. It's not as low as it was, but it's, I think, in the early, like the very low 100s. What's your take on the stock price and that whole narrative?
I mean,
of, like, you know,
listen, Nelson Peltz needs to focus on Wendy's because the stock down 13.85% throughout year to date. Disney's up 11.94%. If you're gonna say this, Nelson Peltz is the reason for it. That's ludicrous. I don't know who's saying that, especially when it went up 11.5% just on their last earnings call. The one before that, sorry. On the February earnings call, they went up 11.5%. That wasn't Nelson Peltz that came in and said, "Hey, great earnings." No, that was Bob Iger and the team. No, that's just no. And plus, I'm not a technical analyst, but if you look at this charts, it went a downtrend a little bit because Nelson Peltz sold. So that push of someone big like that selling brought it down a bit. But I mean, the whole market went down. A lot of the markets went down. I see some people on X were saying, like, let's look at SPY or the NASDAQ or Dow Jones and compare it with Disney. But yet that's not apples and apples. That's apples and oranges. You're comparing all the markets with the entertainment company Disney, when you should be comparing with Comcast. You should be comparing it with Warner Brothers, Netflix, right? Netflix is the only one out of all the entertainment companies, non-tech like Amazon and Apple, that's actually doing better than Disney. Everyone else is doing bad. Even Comcast. Nobody wants to talk about Comcast doing bad year to date.
No, of course not. No one talks about it. And I've been banging on that drum, Seymour, for so long. No one talks about Comcast. So they're doing worse right now year to date over compared to Disney.
They're down 10.79% year to date, and nobody wants to talk about that. Saying, well, what happened there? Maybe Nelson Peltz should do a proxy fight with them because they're actually going down, not Disney.
Well, in CNBC, they talk about this linear problem like it's only a Disney exclusive problem. The parent company of CNBC has got issues with that too, you know, but they never say anything about that, you know, of course not.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like that anything, whether it's cruise line, parks, studio related, anything with Disney, it's always news out everywhere, right? With some of these other companies, you know, I mean, I might see like one news thing or one article from someone, but with Disney, it's plastered all over every social media, from every news outlet, from every, you know, individual blogger on the internet. You know, like Disney has the most eyes focused on them for sure.
Yeah. No, well said. Well said. Yeah, Disney does these Pride events, and it's all over the place. Universal has been tweeting about Pride Month since June 1st, and there's no controversy around that. Nope. You know what I'm saying? You notice that too, Seymour?
Yeah, and I mean, Netflix has a lot of like content related to that, and you never hear anything about it. And then you see more kids are on Netflix as well, but you don't see people complaining about that either. If you go watch Big Mouth, that show is not for kids, even though it's made for kids, but for adults in a way. It's very weird because it's about kids going puberty, right? So it was written like it's as if telling the kids how to grow up, but it's not meant for kids. It's meant for adults because it's not a kids show.
Right. And to be clear too, I have no issue with Pride events or Pride Month at all. But here's the thing: there are people that do have issues with that, and they do complain about it at Disney and theme parks. They shouldn't have that in theme parks and this, that, and the other. Well, if you're going to complain about that at Disney, and then Universal is doing just about the same thing, can we at least have a little consistency here? If it bothers you here, it should bother you there. But apparently, it's you know.
Yeah, I saw a post. Somebody was saying that you shouldn't be watching Disney content after 2019. I'm like, okay, so where are they going to go and watch the content? Because everywhere else is worse. It's similar, not worse, but it's similar in context. Like, I don't understand. You're not going to get this quote unquote kids safe content anywhere.
Well, times are changing, you know, and it's you know, times are changing, and there's a level of kind of like. It's not 1960 anymore, 1950 anymore. Like, you know, things change, you know, in society, and it's not just Disney that's changed. You know, a lot of the Universal stuff, you know, and that there is progressive too. It's not just Disney. All these studios are, you know. So I don't know. It's wild, but Webba, any final thoughts before we skedaddle?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that I'm glad that that whole proxy fight thing, went down the toilet, and that Bob Iger is, was voted over, Peltz, and I really love Acolyte, or not love, but I really liked Acolyte because I haven't, obviously I haven't seen those episodes yet, but I think it's really good. OG, you should watch it.
So strong first 2 episodes, like pretty decent.
I would give the first 2 episodes overall about anywhere from a 7 to an 8 for me.
See, that's good. That's not bad. That's better than I thought it was going to be. I got to be honest. I was kind of not impressed with the trailer, so I'm gonna check it out this weekend. I'll text you. I'll be like, hey, I saw it.
Yeah,
I'll let you know. I'm very curious. I'm curious now for sure. Go ahead, Seymour.
Have you noticed a lot of these trailers have been weird out of the studios lately? I like even going back to like Willy Wonka. They were so scared to show any of the songs that were being played in the movie because they wanted people to come in, look at the movie first, and then react before actually seeing it in the trailer.
I'm wondering if that has to do with because what happens a lot in these Hollywood trailers is that a lot of times they will show all the best parts from the movie in the trailer, and then you go watch the movie, and then you're like, well, I could have just stayed home and watched the trailer because all the best stuff was in the trailer. Like they pretty much spoiled everything in the movie, So I think because Hollywood has had a rough time recently, right, with COVID, with the actors and writer strikes, and then now all these studios with, I guess, some agenda stuff, right, going on apparently, But I think Hollywood's having a really rough time right now with kind of all the studios, right? Trying, with all the streaming, with their movies not doing so hot on a lot of them, especially with stuff like from like what was that Duck Bird movie, OG, that came out?
Migration.
Yeah, Migration, right? Like I don't think that did super well, right? And that
I think it did okay. Like it made its money back, but it wasn't like a huge hit or anything. I mean, it wasn't like a it wasn't like a Minions or a Mario, nothing like that. Do you know what the numbers on that look like, Seymour? That Migration movie from Illumination? I think it kind of broke even, right? Kind of basically, or maybe a little bit better than broke even.
Yeah, I think so. But the trend. No, it did pretty good at 297.5 million. Not too bad.
Okay.
Oh, that's not too bad at all. And the budget was only I think 100 million or something, right?
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
it was pretty cheap.
But I'm noticing a trend is that I know people say lower budgets, but lower budgets not going to fix the eyeballs for the movie theaters.
Right.
Well, that's also too. Now we're having problems with movie theaters. Like people just because people have been kind of, I guess, some have been conditioned, right, to stay home, wait for the movie to come out, right? Because the movie comes out in theaters 3 months later the movie's out. So you can watch it on the streaming service that you pay for already. Just watch it there, right? I mean, OG, I know you love doing that. Go to the theaters, you got the movie right there. You can pause, use the restroom, get your snacks, whatever, right? Because even when here, because I have 3 Regals by me, and if me and my wife go, then it's at least it depends on which location, but the more expensive location is $18 per ticket. Then if you buy the snacks, you're looking at about at least a $50 day, just for a couple hours, So imagine if you have a family of 4 or 5, right? Like that adds up a lot. So the movies, it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's go ahead,
it adds up. Go ahead, Seymour.
I was just gonna say and if you look at titles when If came out, it was they were saying, oh, it's the top live action animated movie, right? The hybrid. And they were saying, oh, it's a success. And then you don't hear any news the week after. And now it's not doing as well as it's supposed to be. It only has 143 million right now.
Wow.
Yeah, and you have these high prices for movie theaters, and then you also have movies. So, I mean, I know we had Barbie, Oppenheimer, some stuff that was really good, Super Mario Brothers. But you have these kind of subpar movies, a lot of them are coming out, and people don't want to spend their hard-earned money, especially a lot of it, on movies that aren't going to be great.
No, exactly. Yeah, people are pickier with their money now, and it takes a little bit more to get them into the theater because now you do have the option to watch it at home. You do, it's you don't have to watch that movie in theaters anymore, And I actually prefer to not to. I mean, that's just me personally. You know what I'm saying? There's some movies that you have to, like Avatar. Those are these event movies that you really want to see on a big screen. But do I really need to see a detective drama in the theater? Nah.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can watch that at home. You know, and you've been saying it for a long time, Seymour. Like, yeah, like you lower the budgets, that's great, but how are the theater chains going to survive? That's the big thing.
Yeah, and I feel like the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know why. They talk about like these movies not doing well compared to the other movies, but overall they don't want to talk about how movie theater businesses are dying. Matt from Puck talks about it, and he gets a lot of backlash talking about how AMC should be shutting down movie theaters, not making more movie theaters because nobody's going to them. They should consolidate and make less so that people can, go and see movies packed so that they don't close down.
Well, they're playing old movies now in the movie theaters just to put something in there. I think Lion King's coming back to the theaters again and stuff like that. Like they're putting old stuff in there because there's nothing there anymore. Go ahead, Webba.
Yeah, no, as I was saying, and speaking of the budgets, right? Like, especially I know from Disney at least, like some of these movies have had crazy high budgets, right? And it's like then that also makes it kind of harder for them to make their money back as well, especially when a lot of people are already, kind of review bombing the movie, or the movie just isn't good quality and it's just either okay. So the movie's not really making its money back or just barely making its money back. So I think there's like from before, because I was actually watching a video back from like when Star Wars Episode 1 came out, and there was like it was an experience going to watch that movie when that thing came out. Now I don't really feel like rarely ever that movie theaters are like an experience anymore. Is you just go there, watch the movie, and that's kind of it. I know we have different stuff like 4DX and all that kind of crap. But but now you can watch both your stuff at home, and then on Disney Plus too. Seymour, what was the budget for She-Hulk? Because I heard that was expensive as well, and I don't know what the budget was for that.
It was a mixture of bad CGI work and COVID. So like the budgets were off. Yeah, I forget what the budget was. Let me see.
I thought it was like 200 million or something crazy. I thought it was really high.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, how in the world did this show cost so much looking like that?
Yeah, it looks like it costed 200 million.
200 million, dude. It's wild. And this is the thing too. It's fun, not funny, but like the fandom has been screaming at Disney to lower the budgets, and I agree with Webba. They should lower the budgets, right? They got to get the cost lowered. But then the minute Disney makes move to lower the budgets, which inevitably leads to people getting laid off and stuff like that, the reality of those budget cuts rear their ugly head, and then the community is yelling at Disney. Well, what are you doing? Why are you letting people go? Well, I thought everyone wanted lower budget. Like you can't have it all way. Like there's going to have to be people that get let go, or you can ship the entire studio off to overseas like Universal does when most of their stuff is filmed overseas. I don't think people want that from Walt Disney Animation.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to give here. Like if you want to lower the budgets, yes, let's do that. But it's lowering budgets comes with some really tough decisions, and you can't have it all ways,
Right. I actually just have a question, OG, for Seymour. So, Seymour, do you know, because, like the last few years, we've had crazy high price hikes and inflation. Do you know how much overall in general has costed studios to just produce like a TV show or a movie? Like, because I'm assuming the cost has gone up crazy just to like create a movie or a film on a set or whatnot.
Yeah, the cost has definitely gone up. It's one of the things. I don't know the exact cost because a lot of the times, even if we look at budgets now, they're just estimates. They're not exact pricing of how much like a movie or TV show. Right. But Bob Iger made it a clear point where they want to focus on quality and not quantity for a lot of the stuff. It's because it's expensive now to make good shows, good movies. But that's where Hulu comes in, and because general entertainment content is actually really cheap to produce. You don't need all that CGI. You don't need all that stuff. And that will fill the void in for that quantity. And then Disney can go back and make that quality. And I think it's a good move because we don't need to see so many Disney Plus series for Star Wars and Marvel to flood, right? Because like She-Hulk was the prime example where it's like, well, they spent so much money on CGI for it. Why? You could have, it was not needed.
Yeah, it hurt the brand. It hurt those brands. I think.
It did, yeah.
With that being said, though, I think that the budgets are going to be high for Zelda movie, and I think it's going to make over $2 billion.
Wow, over $2 billion?
You think so?
Because Nintendo, they don't care about making profits outside the video games. They just want to make their money back and their initial investment, and they're happy with that. So if they can, because they tested the waters with the Mario movie and paid $50 million for it, and it did really good. With the Zelda movie, live action costs a lot more money than animation, like Illumination does. And I believe, because same thing with the theme parks, they don't care about making money as long as it brings back a little more, like a little, or break even, because it's like getting advertisements for their video game system.
So then, Seymour, my question is, I think we talked about this like a few months ago, right? We're kind of debating on whether the Legend of Zelda should be a live action versus like a Mario type of like Illumination animation. Why, if it's more expensive to do live action, why choose to do that over the kind of Mario Illumination style animation?
Because Nintendo does not care about making money on that movie as long as it breaks even. If it gives them that Avatar-like experience, they're gonna willing to spend at least half of it. Right? Let's say if it's a $400 million budget movie, they're gonna willing to spend $200 million to get that back. Because if they get everyone in the seats, all those eyeballs looking at Zelda, you know how many it's gonna bring in to buy more Zelda games, more Switches. That's their main tactic right now with Nintendo.
Well, see, and also this is a good point too, right? Is that with Nintendo being attached because it's Sony, right? They're working with Sony, so whether it's Sony, Universal, whoever they're working with, with freaking Nintendo attached to this thing, they're gonna make sure this thing is quality. Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. Now, here's the thing too. I wanted to ask you, Seymour. There were rumors. I think it came from. I think there were like the trades and various outlets were talking about the possibility of Nintendo doing like a cinematic universe for like the Super Mario animated movie was like the first of it, and then they would kind of branch out into this connected universe. But this is the thing with that. I don't know how true that is because Zelda's live action. It's also from a different studio. So would they make another Zelda movie that would be animated so they can do this connected universe, or is that something that that's not going to happen in your opinion? Like, do you think there isn't going to be any connected universe?
I'll be honest, I don't know. Anything could happen. You know, they could have just gone to a multiverse portal and they turn animated. Who knows what's going to happen? I would like to see it. They could do a hybrid, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where they do animated and live action, but I don't know. And I mean, that's going to be down the road. I don't think they're thinking about that right now. I think they're thinking about just making good quality content with their like good IPs, Zelda, Mario, and I'm sure next is going to be like Star Fox. Or
yes, give me Star Fox.
and with Star Fox, I hope it's like a TV show because there's so much depth in that storyline that you can.
Yeah.
And I don't think people know a lot about Star Fox. Right. Like Zelda and Mario, they do. They play the game. Star Fox, not so much. Where a storyline like that, you know, it's good for a TV show, I think.
Yeah, well, now that's we're sorry to cut you off, but now that, but also now you're bringing in, you know, like a sci-fi space adventure, right? With dog fights and stuff like that, dude. That would be sick. But I would love to see. I mean, I'm biased because I love Star Fox, but like, you know, I would love to see that. You know, you know, like
how'd that go again, Webba? I didn't catch that. How'd that go again? How was that? Perfect. No, actually, I love your idea, Seymour, about it being a series, though. I think that's really smart. I like that a lot, actually. Now, would you make it animated, or would you kind of make it? I know they're animals, so there's going to be always a level of CGI in there. But would you kind of go like more a realistic route with it, or would you go like just full animated like Mario was?
I think I don't know if it's going to be this way, but I know that Miyamoto was very fond of puppets. And I know they was working with College Humor to make a Star Fox series. It was leaked during the time when Sony's emails got leaked as well. When Sony was supposed to do the Mario movie, but then it got canceled. Okay. Yeah. And Netflix was supposed to do the live action Zelda 2, and they got canceled. But yeah, it was supposed to be puppets, but kind of like the Muppets.
That's interesting. I love that. I did not. That was not the angle I was going with, but I like that a lot, actually.
I don't know if they're gonna do it. I don't know if the fans are gonna react to it well. But I mean, if you look at the Pokemon, kind of looks like stop motion puppet type content. It was really good. The Pokemon, the short series on Netflix.
Wow, that kind of blows my mind. I'm kind of like digging that idea. You're a big Star Fox guy, Webba. Would you be down for that? Like kind of like more puppetry style show?
Yeah, here's the like whether it's like more puppetry style or it's kind of like that live action CGI style. Here's the here's what I want. As long as it looks like the fucking characters, okay, and the voices match the characters, and the R-wings look like the R-wings, the Landmaster looks like the Landmaster, all that good stuff. You have Andros and all like the baddies are in there, and it's faithful to the lore of Star Fox, right? That's what I care about, and also good action, good space adventure. You know, that's what I want to see. That's why I agree with Seymour about it being like a series because
Right.
there's so much stuff you could explore, dude. Right? And you got these ace pilots that are just kicking ass, dude. And yeah, I'm just like the whole thing's exciting. So whether they do like a more puppet style or more like CG kind of like CG's type of anime style, either one I'd be fine with. I just want to see a badass Star Fox space sci-fi fantasy adventure, dude.
Well, yeah, and with TV shows, or streaming service shows, and Christian Harloff, who it's no secret, I'm a huge fan of his. I've been a huge fan of his for a long time. He's always said this, where with streaming, you can really deep dive into this stuff. So
Right.
if you have, like, for example, a 10 episode series, and each episode's an hour, like they should be. Are you listening, Disney? Are you listening? an hour. You have 10 hours of content there. So if you do a Star Fox show, and each episode's an hour, you're getting 10 hours of content. So you can dive deep into, like what you were saying, Webba, into that Star Fox lore, really get to know these characters on a way that you wouldn't be able to get to know them in just a 2-hour movie. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And so like with the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I actually really loved that movie. I thought that was a great. I know there were some people that were kind of poo-pooing it or were like, oh, this is, like the whole female thing with Peach, like woman power or whatever, right? I was like, I don't care about that. Like, I thought the movie was very faithful to the games.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really good.
Great movie. Like the color palette was amazing, dude. It was great. And also I love like the transition from like the city to like Mushroom Kingdom and all that. That was cool. But yeah, no. For Star Fox, dude. I mean, because now I'm thinking too, right? Is like that depending on the IP of Nintendo for like a movie or a series, right? Now you got to figure out. Back to Seymour's point, like, does it fit more as a series or fit more as a movie? Right? Or let's say a trilogy, because now let's bring in a Metroid. Would you have that be animation style like Mario, or would you have that be live action like we're doing Legend of Zelda?
Oh no, I would do live action for Metroid. Get badass, have the badass suit, do live action.
So in that though, would you just have a movie, or would you want to do a series on that?
See, that's tougher. For Metroid, that's tougher. I'd be okay with either one. For Metroid, well, I don't know. That's a tough one, man. I don't really know, because like a series, like I said, you can deep dive into the lore, and I think there's a lot there you can tap into with Metroid.
Yeah,
if done right.
Well, okay. So here's my other question. Okay, so now I'm getting nerdy out with like the Nintendo stuff. Okay, Seymour, NOG.
I find it funny that we're talking about Nintendo when we're supposed to finish.
Oh yeah, sorry. sorry, OG.
No, we're good.
Okay,
and that's why I like what we do, because it goes in places that you don't expect, right? And that's what makes it fun. So yeah, keep going. Let's rock and roll, guys.
So here's the thing, man. So here's the thing. So we have Super Mario Brothers. We got Legend of Zelda, which is kind of like, I guess you're kind of like Game of Thrones-y type of movie world, I guess you could say, right? Because you got swords and bombs and stuff like that, castles and so magic. But how about a racing IP? F-Zero. Would you guys want that to be more like a movie where it's like just a straight up racing movie, or would you want that to be also a series where you follow Captain Falcon and whatnot?
Bring back. I wouldn't mind a racing movie as long as it's not as like crazy as Fast and the Furious, like Fast X.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to that. That was a racing movie, and then now they have superpowers. I don't know what's happening.
Oh man, they gotta wrap that whole series, that whole franchise up, in my opinion.
Yeah, so like the racing movie and like Metroid, if they were like live action, I think it's really good for like a movie to get that experience. Yes. Where with like Star Fox, I think it would be better if it did TV show. And if you look at the some of the box art and the promotions for Star Fox for Super Nintendo, you can see them as puppets if you want to see them as puppets.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you look at them, they have like that more puppety kind of look to them. That texture is very, very interesting. But yeah, either way, like I would love to see a show again. With Nintendo being the backbone of it, I know all these shows or movies would be quality, and I know that like the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I know that they would make sure it's faithful to the characters, faithful to the lore. So I would be down for that.
Yeah, and I will never forget it. To kind of close this up, I will never forget it. I sat next to Mr. Webba in the tram tour at Universal. Remember this?
Yes.
And we're on, and I love the tram tour. I'm a tram tour stan. I love it. The 60th anniversary stuff is amazing. That's my favorite part about Universal is the tram tour. But I'll never forget. I'm sitting next to Webba, and we go through. It was your first time, right, on Supercharged?
Yes, my first time on Supercharged.
And I don't think I've ever seen you laugh that hard, bro.
But Supercharged should be called super shit, dude. Like fuck. God.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. But to be fair, I think they're getting rid of it because they got that new roller coaster coming out. So I think the Supercharged days are over. We got I think Theme Park Wizard was touching upon that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're getting rid of it. So not too much longer, but yeah, it's pretty bad with the guy on the helicopter.
It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life, guys. I never laughed so hard on the like, dude. I saw that. I was like, you gotta be kidding. The body was so disproportionate to the copter. It looked just ridiculous. He goes from one side to the other, screaming at you while you're going like 100 miles an hour through LA. I'm like, what the hell is happening, dude?
100 miles an hour on a tram, you know. The best part about that whole scene are the club chicks, right? The club girls. There we go. That's the best part. At least we got a little eye candy out of the whole situation, right?
The whole part. I was trying to see if we can see George in there somewhere.
Yeah, no, he was there. He was there. But gentlemen, really fun conversation. I want to thank you both for joining today, talking shop on this episode of the Orange Nerd Show. Seymour, if you could let everybody home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Oh yeah, you can find me on X at Mr. Seymour Duck. There he is.
Follow Mr. Seymour Duck on X, and we got Mr. Webba, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Mr. Webba, if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Of course, you can find me, Mr. Webba, at Webslinger760 on Twitter and on Instagram, and also you can find me here on OG55, including now I'll be at the parks more often now.
Right.
So that's where you can also find your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Absolutely. And I am OG55.
Young blood, but I'm built like an OG.
There we go. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Orange Nerd Show. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we talked about today. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.
세상이 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.